Hello and good day, everyone. Welcome to the Live Life Conference 2021. I am home. I am RJ Moriones, a lay missionary for the Live Christ Share Christ mission, serving in the Live Life pillar. Family is an important component of society and of the church. It is the primary unit of communities and it is the domestic church. That is why in this conference, we wanted to highlight the family and how it can be a source of love and life to every individual, to the community, and to the world. There are many reasons to celebrate this year, even if we are still in the pandemic. The crisis we are in right now will not dampen our spirits to know more about the plan of God for ourselves and for our families. We are happy to share with you this event that will highlight our desire to be a gift to others and our eagerness to celebrate the beauty of marriage, family, and life. The pandemic will not stop us in proclaiming the gospel of life to everyone. We, in Live Life, are empowered by the Holy Spirit to become God's beacon of light to the ends of the earth. As we celebrate 500 years of our Christian faith, and as we observe the Amores Laetitia Family Year, we bring to you the Live Life Conference 2021 Sessions on Demand. We created Sessions on Demand videos to help appreciate the beauty of marriages and family, and to develop a society that embraces the culture of life. We want everyone, yes, to be empowered with the truth as we all respond to the constant attack of evil forces against families. We want all of you to appreciate the beauty of life and respond by sharing this gift to everyone. As you watch at the comfort of your homes, we want you to open your mind and heart to everything that will be shared and revealed to you. Be assured that the speakers were handpicked and they are the best in their fields to discuss the topics presented. It will be an exciting opportunity to learn. We have prepared two segments for the workshop, the culture of life and the culture of death. In the culture of life segment, we will highlight ways on how we can build up a strong family for Christ and empower everyone to embrace the gospel of life at home. And as for the culture of death, we will enlighten everyone about the realities of this culture that opposes God's way for families and marriages. We will offer to our participants ways on how to address these issues and become a light to everyone. We promise you that these online sessions will help and equip us to further the mission of proclaiming the gospel of life to everyone. Let us be bearers of God's light to the world. Let us lead everyone back home so that they may see God's amazing love and beautiful plan for every family. Have a grace-filled day ahead of you. Enjoy and God bless.
I am going to talk about divorce today. But before doing that, I will discuss marriage first because divorce is the antithesis of marriage. Divorce, in fact, implies a failure of marriage. So I will dwell for the most part talking about marriage, what it is, and what it is meant to be. I was reading a book on marriage, and it started by quoting Lord Byron, that well-known English romantic poet who wrote 150 years ago, that love is heaven, marriage is hell. I'm not entirely sure what circumstances inspired him to say that, or whether 1.5 centuries before that, he already foresaw the incredible popularity that his idea would have today. Nowadays, I spend a lot of time before my computer. As an academician, I teach through the remote online method. And to inject some sense of sanity into my newly found digital space, I would surf YouTube for some soft stress relief music. And in the process, I chanced upon Bruno Mars' hit single, Marry You, which at that time had almost 27 million views. And the lyrics go this way. It's a beautiful night. We're looking for something damn to do. Hey baby, I think I wanna marry you. If we wake up and you wanna break up, that's cool. No, I won't blame you. It was fun, girl. Well, if pop culture and people's reaction to it reflect or indicate society's state of affairs, then we have to be concerned about the state of marriage and how it is viewed today. The beauty of marriage has been so obscured that it is now considered a purely personal, emotional relationship, could be a spur of the moment decision, something dumb or boring, or something you can jump into to spice up or bring excitement to life. For others, it is something that threatens love or destroys freedom. But before we get swayed by the danceable tune of Bruno Mars music, let us have a brief review of what marriage is. Let's look at some documents of the church and find out what they say about marriage. Let's look at Humanae Vitae, which is Pope Paul VI's encyclical, and it says, married love is fully human. It is not merely a question of natural instinct or emotional drive. It is also and above all an act of the free will, so that husband and wife become, in a way, one heart and one soul, and together attain their human fulfillment. Married love is total, that very special form of personal friendship in which husband and wife generously share everything, allowing no unreasonable exceptions and not thinking solely of their own convenience. Whoever really loves his partner loves not only for what he receives, but loves that partner for the partner's own sake. Content to be able to enrich the other with the gift of himself. Married love is also faithful and exclusive of all the other until his death. And married love is fecund. It is not confined wholly to the loving interchange of husband and wife. It also contrives to go beyond this to bring new life into being. Marriage and conjugal love are by their nature ordained toward the procreation and education of children. Children are really the supreme gift of marriage and contribute in the highest degree to their parents' welfare. Another document of the church on marriage is Gaudium et Spes. It says, the true love between husband and wife implies a mutual gift of self and includes and integrates the sexual and affective aspects according to the divine plan. It emphasizes the grounding of the spouses in Christ. Christ comes into the lives of married Christians through the sacrament of matrimony and remains with them. Another document is Familiaris Consortio, which is St. John Paul II's apostolic exhortation. It is a total personal self-giving in which the whole person, including the temporal dimension, is present, which is manifested in total physical self-giving. If I may restate, or summarize what those documents say about marriage, may I put it this way. The documents mentioned describe Christian marriage as being fully realized in the union between a man and a woman who give themselves totally to each other in free, faithful, and exclusive love, belong to each other until death, and are open to the transmission of life. But then comes the reality of daily life, when spouses are faced with the imperfections of family life. Problems arise, one sees more clearly the spouse's defects. It becomes difficult to talk with one another, listen to one another, and pour out affection. St. John Paul II could not have said it any more emphatically when he said that the church calls people to be saints and to live heroic virtue, which is first learned in family life. Therefore, married life needs to be a path of constant conversion for both spouses as they refine and strengthen their married life in the kiln or crucible of challenges, demands, frictions, and pinpricks of each day. So it's a daily struggle for both the husband and the wife as they confront daily challenges, contradictions, and conflicts in the home. Oh, but this may sound so burdensome, almost a morbid picture of marriage and married life. But then, as Pope Benedict XVI in Deus Caritas Est aptly said, love between wife and husband is fully understood only in light of the love of Christ crucified, pointing to God's way of loving as becoming the very measure of human love between wife and husband. That is actually what we see in Jesus' life. And if I may quote John chapter 10, verse 10, I have come that they may have life and have it more abundantly. For that is what marriage ought to be, a total self-giving of the spouses to one another, not holding anything back. And this is what Christ precisely did on the cross. He gave himself totally without holding anything back. He gave his life that we could have life and have it more abundantly. For that is the most profound meaning of love, to give one's life to the other. Marriage seems to have gone wrong for many today. The growing frequency of divorce in countries where it is allowed and the campaign for where it remains not legal are proof of the unfortunate state of marriage and the growing popularity of divorce nowadays. To date, it is only in the Vatican and in the Philippines where divorce is not legally recognized. Persistent moves to legalize divorce are seen as a sign of progress or a sign of progress in a society that seeks always to solve anything that breaks down. For precisely that is what many consider divorce, a go-to measure when a marriage fails. Many consider divorce a better option than remaining bound or caged in a failed or trouble-ridden marriage. Divorce presents a shattering experience where couple who once felt they were meant for each other and represented the fulfillment of the other's dreams now feel they cannot stand each other and cannot get along together anymore. Despite these developments, however, it is heartwarming to note that there are still many couples who have held on to their vows, who continue to struggle each day to keep their yes and working at making that yes forever. While divorce is an option for those who want out, many still yearn for the ideal of marriage as a lifelong union. And pop culture does reflect that longing as well. I'm sure many of you have heard about Ed Sheeran, that British singer-songwriter. And you must have heard about his song, Thinking Out Loud. And the lyrics go this way: when your legs don't work like they used to before, and I can't sweep you off your feet, darling, I will be loving you till we're 70. That song topped the charts around the world. I wonder, could it be that rather than marriage going wrong for man, is it man who has gone wrong about marriage? Is it possible that the fault does not lie with marriage but with modern man, specifically his approach to marriage? In the book, Marriage in Crisis, Reverend Cormac Burke posited 3 significant points where man's approach to marriage has gone wrong. 1, man's tendency to deify human love, to expect from human love what any believer knows only God can give. Happiness, yes, can be found in marriage, but not unlimited happiness. To ask for perfect happiness in marriage is just asking too much. It is like if you blow a balloon up too much, it bursts. So if you look for perfect marriage or perfect happiness in marriage, you will get disillusioned. You will get disenchanted. We know that the perfect marriage that man seeks can only be found in God. That's why married life should be grounded and centered in Christ. The second point where man could have a wrong approach to is man's tendency to invert the order of priority in the ends or purposes of marriage. That is, his tendency to think that marriage is primarily for the expression and enjoyment of love, and secondarily, if at all, having children. For many people today, children are to marriage what certain accessories are to automobiles. They're just optional extras. Count them in if you like them or can afford them. If not, marriage, like the car, can work well without them. The deliberate exclusion of children, in whole or in part, is almost sure to make any marriage work badly. The church's teaching is that the ends of marriage are having and raising and educating children. The main motive most people have for marrying is undoubtedly love. It's clear, I think there's no doubt about that. Why do I want to marry this person rather than anyone else? It's because I'm in love with him or her. That is clear. If having children enters as a motive for marrying, it normally enters as a secondary motive. And in certain cases today, it may not even enter at all. It is part of the natural order that procreation should be the end of marriage. In fact, the primary end of marriage. The love of husband and wife is meant to grow, and in growing, to extend to and embrace others who will be precisely the fruits of that love. As Saint Josemaria Escriva put it, true mutual love transcends the community of husband and wife and reaches out to its natural fruit, the children. And the third point, man's tendency to see these two ends of marriage as conflicting instead of seeing them as complementary to one another. Nature has designed married happiness to result from the interplay of two factors, love and children. However, instead of seeing mutual love and having children as complementary to one another, children are seen as an enemy, a burden, and a hindrance to growth and fulfillment of personal dreams and ambitions. Part of the philosophy that mutual love is the all-sufficient constituent of married happiness is the birth control mentality. The couple are not prepared to have children until they are more settled, or they do not intend to have children at all. Now, we go to divorce. What is divorce? We said earlier, it is an opt-out option. It is a grave offense against natural law. It claims to break the contract to which the spouses freely consented to live with each other until death. Divorce does injury to the covenant of salvation, of which sacramental marriage is the sign. Divorce certainly is becoming more commonplace. For instance, it has been estimated that in the US, the lifelong probability of a marriage ending in divorce is 40% to 50%. Only about a third of the marriages in Belgium actually last. In Asia, in developed countries like Singapore and Hong Kong, divorce rates have been rising steadily while young people are delaying marriage, if they get married at all. Instead of rattling off data and figures about the effects of divorce, I thought of sharing with you real-life stories of some well-known personalities. I was reading an article on the understated tragedy of divorce by Father Damien Ference, and he mentioned a documentary simply entitled Amy, about Amy Winehouse, who was a talented pop singer from England and whose unmistakable and inimitable voice helped her top charts, sell records, and win Grammy Awards. Winehouse died from alcohol poisoning in 2011. Winehouse drank, did drugs, slept around because she was hurting. And that hurt began when her parents divorced when she was 9 years old. In that documentary, Winehouse remembers vividly when her parents split and recalls that her life took a dramatic shift at that moment. The most poignant lesson from Amy is that divorce is painful, especially for children. Children of divorced parents have to wrestle with a difficult reality that children whose parents are married and remain together do not have to. There's also this HBO authorized documentary of the lead singer of the rock band Nirvana. His name is Kurt Cobain. Some of you may be familiar with him. He was an American musician who was often heralded as a spokesman of Generation X. and is considered to be one of the most influential musicians in the history of alternative rock. Like Winehouse, Kurt Cobain died at the age of 27. After a long battle with depression and heroin addiction, he shot himself in the head. Dying tragically at the age of 27 isn't the only thing that Winehouse and Cobain have in common. Cobain's parents also divorced when he was 9 years old. And like Winehouse, that split marked a definitive moment in his life. According to the documentary Before the Divorce, Cobain was generally a happy child. But after the divorce, his personality changed significantly as he became withdrawn, defiant, difficult, and antisocial. Cobain suffered a wound that pained him for the rest of his life. What both documentaries seem to show is that both Winehouse and Cobain had lost a sense of stability and grounding after their parents divorced, especially as each artist gained popularity and fame. It was as if there was no safe place to land if they were to fall, and no unified wall of protection offered to them. Father Ferenc contrasted Winehouse and Cobain's experience with someone like Taylor Swift, who is arguably one of the most popular musicians of today. Swift has been able to deal with wealth, fame, and the paparazzi with aplomb. And it seems that this is so because her parents have always been the most stable force in her life. That their arms together were always there, ready to catch their daughter and protect her. Notably, God was entirely absent from the documentary films. But then Father Ferenc noted that children first come to know the love that God has for them through the love of their parents, as the supernatural is always presented through the natural, the divine through the human. When human relationships break down, particularly in parents of children, so too can a child's belief in God, who himself is love. This is not to say that children of divorced parents cannot love, or that they won't believe in God. But that divorce may make it difficult for a child to believe in love, to believe that love is real, and to believe that love endures all things, particularly if the love between one's parents has not endured. One of the reasons that many Catholics, despite growing up in broken homes, have been able to flourish is that they found great comfort, consolation, and healing through Christ and His Church. It's true that Winehouse and Cobain's lives might have been very different if they had known the Lord's love and the love of the Church. But it's also true that we really do not, or that we really do come to know the love of God through the domestic church, which is the family. And when the family is hurting, so too is the church, and so too is the culture. The family is referred as a primordial human society. From the very first years of a person's existence, the family is the place to transmit and learn values such as brotherhood, loyalty, piety, respect, solidarity, or solidarity between generations, love for work, and love for the truth. As they say, parents are the first teachers and the home is the first school. Rightly, the family is acknowledged as an invaluable resource for a nation's socio-cultural and political development, as it is the natural setting for the integral formation of a country's future citizens. The family, therefore, plays a significant role in the development of society. That's why it is universally recognized as the foundation of society and the state. And our Constitution affirms this. And the family, to have any stability, must be founded on marriage. This fact is likewise recognized and affirmed by our Constitution. In fact, it solemnly declares marriage as an inviolable social institution and mandates its protection by the state. Marriage is not a private emotional affair. It is impressed with public interest and public good. It is therefore incumbent upon each one of us as citizens and as children of God to strengthen marriage and family life. Each one of us is called to be vigilant about the dangers that threaten our family, and we owe it to ourselves and the future generations to respond, and to respond promptly, responsibly, and charitably. Let me just very briefly give you 8 simple but direct tips from Pope Francis on how to strengthen marriage and family life. 1, he says, I always give this advice to newlyweds. Argue as much as you want. If the plates fly, let them, but never end the day without making peace. Never. 2, it isn't necessary to call the United Nations to come to one's home to make peace. A small gesture, a caress, a hello is sufficient. And until tomorrow, and tomorrow one begins again. 3, to learn about forgiveness. There is nothing better than the Bible, something that the Pope recommends to improve family life. 4, marriage is a journey full of challenges, difficult at times, and also with its conflicts, but that is life. To move forward, the couple must strive. 5, he advises to couples a life filled with children. He invites couples to throw themselves into the adventure of parenthood. 6, have time to play with your children. That's what he says. Spend time together, recognizing the frantic life that families sometimes experience. 7, he also has advice for children. Misused technology, he said, has become one of the elements that separates a family. Many children and young adults waste so much time on hollow things, chatting on the internet, playing with the cell phone, seeing soap operas. High-tech products are meant to make life simple and to improve the quality of life. But often, they distract us from what's really important. And 8, for Pope Francis, a fundamental pillar of family life are the elderly. They are the future of the people because they are its memory. One of the most beautiful things in the life of a family, of our lives, is to caress a child and to let them be caressed by a grandfather or grandmother. According to Pope Francis, the most beautiful thing that God made was the family. He created man and woman, and he gave them everything. All the love that God has in himself, all of the beauty, that God has in himself, all of the truth that God has in himself, all of this he gives to the family. So there is absolutely no reason for the family to fail. The family will and can hold out against any storm, any tempest, any plague, as long as it is firmly grounded and centered in Christ. The gift of the family and its place in God's plan is entrusted to each one of us, just as the gift of the Holy Family was entrusted to Saint Joseph. Just as the angel of the Lord revealed to Joseph the dangers which threatened Jesus and Mary, forcing them to flee to Egypt and then to settle in Nazareth, God calls upon us to recognize the dangers threatening our own families and to protect them from harm. The church hierarchy and all of us who form the church need to continue to reach out and accompany our brothers and sisters who are hurting and need healing in more meaningful and visible ways. Well thought out programs with well-trained staff of experts and professionals need to be set up, which will be made available to all the faithful. Volunteer work from well-meaning organizations should step up efforts and work together to cover all fronts. Be wary of legislation and policies, of legislators and bureaucrats who form part of recurring and insidious campaigns to redefine marriage, to alter the composition of and dismember the family through bills and laws promoting contraception, abortion, and same-sex marriage, without regard to and in violation of the constitutional edict on the inviolability of marriage and the sacredness of family life. Sovereignty resides in the people, and the state ought to work for the common good. We are not helpless when there are sinister efforts to destroy the inviolable social institutions that are part of our heritage as citizens and as children of God. Billions of taxpayers' money for contraception could instead be redirected to measures and programs to strengthen the family and the promotion of traditional Filipino family values. The enemy lurks around. It only takes our silence, inaction, and indifference for the enemy to triumph. As long as we are vigilant, brave, and defiant, divorce will not find a space in our country and in our lives. And as long as we love, care, and believe, the Filipino family will live and flourish.